Listen, I know we all have things to do. We all have goals that we want to accomplish, and being productive is really hard, especially when the world around you is a chaotic mess. Life is happening to you at the same time, and God forbid you're also neurodivergent like most of us and have anxiety or ADD or trouble sleeping. It gets really difficult, and we tend to focus more on the bigger processes and routines that we put in place to be productive. But there are also very small things that we do on a day-to-day basis, what we call micro habits, that don't require as much of your energy or attention, but really do help you to be more productive. And of course, over here, we don't just focus on the physical. I also like to focus on the spiritual. So today I have 11 micro habits for you to help you with your success and your self-care. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Amber, and this is the Where Do We Start podcast, where we talk about the stars, the self, and everything in between. So I really wanted to talk about this topic today because over the last year and a half, I've really struggled with focusing on things. And so I really started researching into this probably about a year ago. What I've come to find that are things that people don't really consider or that aren't mentioned as much is the micro habits. So I really wanted to discuss those things today. So let's go ahead and just get right into it. So the first tip that I have, and one of the most important ones I think, is to set your intention every day. Set an intention for the day. And what I mean by this is to put something at the very top of your to-do list or make it your main priority, kind of your overall focus for the day. And this doesn't always have to be a task that you have to complete. This can sometimes be more of a mindset or like a mood or energy thing. So like not getting frustrated with people that you work with. That can be the intention that you set for the day, or just to bring positivity to someone's day. That can also be an intention. And it can also be something like, the intention for the day is going to be to rest and take your time, or your intention could be that you just want to reply to all of your emails and clean out your email box. Whatever you decide on, set that one goal for the day and don't spend so much time focusing on getting through like a long to-do list. When you have just kind of your overall one intention for the day, it simplifies things and makes it a lot easier. Now, the second tip is really helpful for most of us have a smartphone, but especially if you have an iPhone, this is going to be extremely helpful. And it's to make use of your focuses or your do not disturb on your phone. And this is really going to help you to minimize your distractions. I recently found out that the focuses on the iPhone can actually do a lot more than I thought. So not only can you schedule them to go off at certain times of the day, you can schedule them to go off when you go to certain locations. This is super helpful. Like I find that I always put my phone in do not disturb when I go to the gym. I can set it so that when I go to the gym, my phone automatically goes into do not disturb. So you can set this for when you're going to work, it will automatically go into like a work focus for you. You can also set it so that you only receive notifications from certain apps or certain contacts. And you can also change the phone screen so that only certain apps appear on your phone screen while you have this focus on. This is just super helpful, like I said, for minimizing distractions and helping you to be a lot more productive. So I have like 3 that I use that I have scheduled throughout the day. So I have like a work focus where I only get work related messages and phone calls. And of course, this really helps me to not get distracted. But then I also have like an on break focus where I get everything except work messages and phone calls. And this is just for my own sanity because it really helps me to actually take a break and step away from work and not get like a work phone call or email and be tempted to respond to it when I'm trying to be intentional about, taking my time. And then I also have like a sleep focus, which I tend to use at the end of the day when I'm still up and I'm still working, but I just want to like minimize my distractions. And then of course, a actual do not disturb where no one can reach me at all in any way. Now, my third tip is to have background mood boosters. And this is probably one of my favorite tips. It's something that I was doing anyway, but I just wasn't being intentional about the way that I was doing it. So what I mean by background mood boosters is things like lo-fi music playing or soft jazz or like frequency music. This can also be having an incense burning or essential oils diffusing or a candle, things that are just kind of in your background that are stimulating to your senses and are actually improving your mood. And so, like I said, I was always doing this. Like I always kind of would have like an incense burning or a candle burning just because I like them, or, have some sort of music playing in the background. But I've started being more aware of, for example, certain essential oils actually do affect your mood. And so using different essential oils for the purpose that I need them to, or different, incense scents for that purpose, and listening to certain types of lo-fi depending on what I'm doing. And that kind of rolls into my next tip, which is to pick the right content or background music for the activity that you're doing. Most of us do like to have something running in the background at all times. Everyone I know kind of has like music playing or a TV show or something that they just have on usually while they're working. But picking the right type of content for the type of work that you're doing can actually help you be a lot more productive. Because trust me, I know I sometimes would like to have like YouTube videos playing in the background while I'm working, but I find that I get really distracted by them because I'm looking over at the other screen and I'm watching whatever's happening and I'm laughing and I'm getting engaged in it. And then it's taking away from what I'm supposed to be doing. So what I like to do is when I really need to be focused and use more of my brain power, more of my creativity, I like to have nonverbal background noise. So for me, this is going to be things like lo-fi music. I'm a really big fan of having that playing in the background, or like frequency music. And you can look up the different frequencies and different kind of brain waves that help you to focus. And so that's something that you can have playing in the background. Meditation music, something like that, or even just like rain sounds and static. But when I'm doing something that requires less brain power, so sometimes we have those repetitive functions that we just kind of have to do and you can kind of zone out and just do it, or like if you're doing something physical like cleaning around the house, this is when I like to have more stimulating content playing that is verbal. And I like to make sure that it's something that I don't have to be looking at while it's playing. So usually this is going to be like an audiobook or a podcast. And I have tried to make it something that is either very informative and is going to teach me something, or just depending on what I'm doing, depending on my mood for the day, something that is going to brighten up my mood and, maybe it's funny or entertaining. Now, my next tip is to create a to-do list at the end of every day for the next day. And it's important that you do it at the end of your day because I find that there's just a lot of stress and anxiety in trying to make a to-do list for that day. Especially like I wake up a bit later than most people. I'm truly a night owl. And so a lot of the times by the time I'm getting to make that to-do list for the day, I'm like, I'm not going to have time to get through all of these things. So it's a lot easier kind of to think about it the night before. And I really like using a to-do list that has things separated in things you need to do that day. So this can be things that have a deadline or that you've already had some sort of obligation to get done that day. And then things that you can do later. So things that you are on your list, but they don't necessarily have to be done today. And I really like separating out my to-do list like this because it takes a lot of the pressure off of you versus having one long to-do list and feeling like you have to get through all of it. First off, don't do that to yourself. Like, be realistic. What are the things that really need to go on your to-do list? And what are the things that you can just do right now? And what are the things that you can just take off the list? You don't actually have to do that, right? But this really helps me to divide it up into like, okay, I have like 3 things today that I really have to get done today, and everything else can go in the do later list. And if I get to it, then great. And if I don't, then I'm not going to feel like terrible about it. Now, my number 6 tip is to set timers. And this is something that has come in great use for me over the last year or so. I've started really making use of my timers. And this is because I found that if I don't set a timer, I will move really slow without even realizing it. Like, I will take 45 minutes to an hour to just get ready to go to the gym. And mind you, I'm not like I don't wear makeup to the gym. I don't do my hair all fancy or anything like that. Like I put my hair in a ponytail, I wash my face and put on gym clothes. But without having like a timer and just being aware of the time, I'm listening to music, jamming out, doing a bunch of other little things around the house that I'm like, oh, I need to do this before I leave. And before I know it, I look at the time and I'm like, oh, like it's an hour later. So I've started setting timers, and one timer that I've become a huge fan of over like the past couple months, I learned about this, is the Pomodoro timer. And I may have mentioned this in another video as well, but this is a timer that basically you have 25 minutes of focus time and then a 5-minute break. And you repeat this 4 times and then you have a longer break of like 25 minutes or 30 minutes. And I actually have an app on my phone that automatically does the timers for you. So once you hit the first one, it starts the countdown for 25 minutes. And then after that's up, it automatically rolls into your 5-minute timer and so on and so forth. And this is super helpful. I think if you have ADHD or just trouble focusing, it is extremely helpful. For me, having a timer really helps. So I think this is something to be mindful of for yourself. If having a timer and like constantly seeing the clock ticking down is going to give you anxiety, then perhaps don't do timers, right? Or maybe find a way that you can kind of set the timer somewhere else where you're not necessarily looking at it. But for me, being able to see the timer counting down, maybe I just work better under pressure, but it actually helps me to be more intentional and be more productive. And I also have started making use of the timers, not just for when I'm working, but for when I take breaks to do certain things as well. So of course I am on social media as a business. So a lot of the times when I'm on social media, I consider myself to be working, but there are times when I'm responding to messages or just, catching up, seeing what's going on for the day, and I just want to scroll. Well, I will set a timer even for that, because if I don't, it's really easy to just start scrolling and end up spending like an hour and a half on my phone watching videos. So I'll set a timer for like 15 or 20 minutes. So that way, once that time goes up, I'm like, okay, I've seen all that I need to see. I'm done, and I can get back to whatever else I need to do. So I set timers for just about everything, like literally almost everything that I do, I set a timer. And it also really helps in the beginning to kind of figure out how long it takes you to do certain things, and then set your timer based on that. And I also want to say as well that, like I said, if I don't set a timer, I go really slow. But there are certain times when I do allow myself to do that. So for example, if it's a day that I don't have a lot to do and I can kind of like, there's room in my schedule for me to take my time, I'm not setting timers. I'm going to allow myself to just take my time getting ready, listen to the music, jam out, spend an hour, whatever, and not be stressed about it. So I think that's something to also keep in mind, is to not be so hard on yourself and recognize that, like, if it helps you to go slow, then you should do that sometimes. If it causes you stress to have a timer constantly going off, then don't use it. And sort of on that note, my 7th tip is to carve out time to do nothing. Okay. And this is going to sound weird. Like, how is that helping you be productive? But just trust me on this. Carve out time in each day and you decide what's going to work for you. But I'm just going to make a suggestion that if you can give yourself at least 10 minutes every day, you will thank yourself for it. Give yourself at least 10 minutes every day to just stop and not do anything. And a lot of us use this time like when we take a shower or something like that. But no, not during that time, not when you're multitasking. Take this time to literally just, at whatever point in your day makes the most sense, to not do anything, right? And you can use this time. A lot of the time I end up like journaling or meditating or praying, but you don't have to. It's time that you have just set aside to just be still, be quiet, just let everything stop for a second and be present in that moment. Trust me, this will help you be more productive and you will be thankful that you start doing this every day. I would suggest starting with like 10 minutes, but if you can work your way to like 15, 20, that's great. Depending on what your schedule allows for, I think the more time that you give yourself to just kind of be still for a little bit, the better your mental health will be. Now, my 8th tip is one that you might not expect, but again, these are micro habits for success and self-care. And so the 8th tip is to do something kind for someone every day, just a small gesture of kindness every day. And this is actually a lot easier than you might think, because it can be something as simple as just sending a "hey, I was just thinking about you" text message, or if you're out and about, complimenting someone on their hair or their outfit, or bringing someone a coffee or bringing them lunch, right? It's up to you how much effort you want to put into this, but it can be very, very minimal effort if you need it to be. And it is something that will start to improve your life. You'll notice that the more small, nice things that you do for people, the better your mood is and the more your energy becomes overall more positive. Now, my 9th tip, I definitely stick to without realizing that it's something that I've kind of always done, and that is look good, feel good. Now, I'm a work from home girly, so I can definitely spend all day in my pajamas and not do my hair at all. And, it wouldn't matter because I'm not leaving my house. I don't have to. But I realized that I'm actually a lot more productive and in a lot better of a mood when I look good too. And now, ladies, I know that the whole beauty maintenance Olympics can get really hectic, so that's not necessarily what I'm talking about here, okay? I don't put on a full business casual outfit and like heels just to, work at home, but doing small things like just putting on a cute outfit, just like a cute, athleisure outfit or something like that. Just brushing my hair, just washing my face, right? And so what I like to kind of think of in terms of my levels of, looking good, feeling good is, even though, let's say I'm just at home and I'm not going anywhere and I don't necessarily have to get all dressed up or anything, I'll get dressed just enough that if a friend were to reach out and say, "Hey, do you want to go to lunch right now?" I could leave my house and go to lunch with them right then. Okay, so you decide kind of what that looks like for you. But for me, I don't have to be all super dressed up. If I have on a t-shirt and jeans and my hair is in a ponytail, that's fine. I can go to lunch looking like that. But I would not go to lunch in like my pajamas with my bonnet on or something like that. Okay. But if you do, that's fine. As long as you feel good about the way that you look, it really can improve your mood and your productivity. Now, the 10th tip, the 10th micro habit that is a really important one, and people pleasers, listen up because this one is for you. Say no more often, okay? Don't be so afraid of missing out on something that you feel like you have to say yes to everything. And don't be so afraid of letting people down or not meeting people's expectations. I have become very good at telling people no, especially like working in a corporate environment where someone might reach out to you and say like, "Hey, can you do this and have it back to me by the end of the day?" And I have been on the other end of that request where it sends me into like a stressed out panic because I've already got all these other things to do. And now you're asking me to add this other thing. And I'm already someone who, even if I planned to not do anything for that day, I don't want my plans getting ruined. So if I already decided what I'm doing, now you're throwing a wrench in that. I really just had to learn to kind of take my control back in those situations and not allow someone else's request, someone else's really kind of inconsiderate request to throw me into a panic and cause me to stress and just cause me to be unnecessarily in a bad mood, right? So getting in the habit of telling people no, like, "Hey, actually, I don't have time for that today. Can it wait until tomorrow?" Or, and this could be something like, say, if someone reaches out to you and wants you to go to lunch with them, like our previous example, if you have the time in your schedule, go to lunch with them, do the thing that someone is asking of you. But if you really don't, like if you know that you have things to do and you can't necessarily go to lunch with your friend that day, say no. Say, look, I can't today. I'm busy, but how about tomorrow, or how about this weekend? Make a suggestion to kind of make that change, but really get used to saying no. And I think that this involves not just not people pleasing and, not thinking that you're going to miss out on something, but it's also a form of discipline. Like, you might really want to go to lunch with your friend, but if you know you're on a time crunch and you have things you have to do, you kind of have to make that decision to, sacrifice, like, be disciplined enough to say, okay, I want to go do that thing, but what I need to do is work on, the thing that I've decided is more important for that day. So kind of set your priorities in that way and recognize that you're saying no for your future self. You're not just saying no because you are being lazy and you just don't feel like it, right? And you're not just saying no just to be a jerk and tell people that you don't want to do things, but ultimately you are protecting your peace, you're protecting your state of mind, and you're trying to uphold the standards that you set for yourself. Now, my final tip, and probably my favorite one, is to do something new every day. Now, I know you're probably thinking, girl, that's not a micro habit, that's a habit, but it's a lot easier than you might think, because it can be something as small as listening to a new song or a new artist or even a new genre that you normally wouldn't listen to. And it can also be something like trying a new food combination or taking a new route to somewhere that you usually go. It can also be things that require a bit more effort from you. So, for example, if you always use the same machine at the gym, try a new one, go to a new restaurant, visit a new city, visit a new outdoor place in your town, things like that. But the point is to incorporate something that takes you a little bit outside of your comfort zone, just a little bit outside of your norm. And this is really the space where you can learn and gain inspiration. So I really hope that these 11 micro habits for success and self-care were useful to you. Don't feel pressured to try to incorporate all of them all at once, okay? If there's things that you're already doing, then great. And if there's some things that you can take away from this list that you want to start doing, then that's great too. Like I said, these are just things that over the past couple years are things that I've learned that have really helped me to focus better and be more productive. So I hope that they can help you as well. And if you enjoyed this content, then definitely be sure to leave us a review, like, and subscribe. And you can also join us over on Instagram, where I post daily content there. And if you'd like even more in-depth personal content, then definitely subscribe to my Patreon, Become a Cosmic Cousin, because we have a wealth of information and just a really great community that we're building over there. But until next time, take care and keep on shining.